the best place to work.
I love working here.
I feel very blessed.
I love it here.
I look forward to coming to work every day, being a part of this team.
Like a family away from home.
Where everyone feels like everybody knows their name.
A city that supports you, we see that with our benefits.
A pension, vacation days, job security.
Being able to be heard.
We feel valued, we feel respected.
Lee's Summit is a very progressive city.
It's growing, it's thriving.
We have this drive towards not just doing a job, but doing it with a spirit of excellence.
I had the opportunity to continue to grow, regardless of 30 plus years doing this kind of work.
It's more than just dollars and cents.
We're here really to give back.
Providing a service to better a community.
To go out and serve people.
To be a part of something bigger than yourself. If I would have known what I know now, years ago, I would have been here much sooner.
Hello, Lee Summit. I'm Jordan. Here's your flash briefing for the week of April 20th. Earth Day is Wednesday, April 22nd. Celebrate by getting involved in local events like Sweep the Summit, Recycle Fest, and Drug Takeback Day, all happening Saturday, April 25th. Find full details on the city's website, cityofls.net. There's still time to review and comment on the Capital Improvement Plan. The comment period for the 2027 to 2031 CIP will be open until midnight on April 22nd. Find a link to review and comment on the city's website. And City Council will meet for a regular session Tuesday night at 6 in Council Chambers in City Hall. Following the regular session, newly elected officials will take part in a swearing-in ceremony. Meetings are open to the public or watch live on the city's YouTube channel. If you can't watch, catch the recorded meeting on demand on the YouTube channel or by subscribing to the Council Debrief newsletter, which breaks down 3 to 4 key agenda items. Subscribe on the city's website. Thanks for listening and have a great week.
The City of Lee's Summit has hundreds of traffic lights across its more than 1,000 lane miles, all managed by the city's Public Works traffic technicians. The work happens inside those metal boxes on the side of each intersection. Inside, technicians program a device called the controller. The controller communicates directly with each signal head via underground wires, telling each light when to turn on and off based on a programmed cycle. City traffic engineers designed this cycle to allow traffic to flow as efficiently as possible for that particular intersection. In order to best match current traffic patterns, they install something called a detection system. Detection systems have taken many forms over the years, from sensors in the pavement to radar boxes. But in Lee's Summit, they primarily consist of cameras, which workers mount above the traffic signals. These cameras don't record video or your speed. Instead, they monitor the spaces at the front of the intersection and identify when a vehicle is present in a specific spot. Once a vehicle is identified, the detection system sends a message to the controller, which then adapts its standard cycle to best serve the cars that are present. The pedestrian button works in a similar way. When the button is pressed, the controller receives a signal, requesting that it allow that section of the pedestrian walkway to go, which it then inserts into the signal pattern. Technicians also install something called a conflict monitor. The conflict monitor is a device in which they program all the potential patterns of lights that would lead to a collision. If the other systems mistakenly trigger those patterns, the conflict monitor sends the intersection into flash, causing all lights to flash red and directing drivers to treat it like an all-way stop. City traffic technicians implement and maintain these systems so effectively, we rarely consider them. But every time we safely pass through a signal-controlled intersection, it's all thanks to their work. So the next time you're waiting at a red light, remember the delicate coordination of super smart systems that move you through that space safely and efficiently every day. Keeping 500 miles of public sewer lines flowing keeps utility costs low and our environment healthy. The Lee Summit Water Utilities Operations Team does this every day. Sewer lines can be blocked with everything from roots to flushable wipes to food grease. When a potential blockage is identified, teams use detailed mapping to locate access points.
My camera's at 18038.
A camera truck parks at one end of the sewer line and a jet truck at the other. The camera truck carries a rover-type camera, which the team lowers into the manhole. The operator then drives the camera into the pipe, where it views and records from its adjustable lens. Here, it can identify the cause and precise location of the blockage. The jet truck will then use high-pressure water to remove the blockage. Starting at the opposite end of the line, the operator inserts the jet head into the manhole. Pressurized water shoots out of the head, clearing out debris and propelling it forward. The camera observes this process, and the two operators communicate via walkie-talkie to coordinate movement.
Hold it right there. Go ahead and fire it up, half pressure. I'm in front of you.
Once the jet head has passed the blockage, the operator reels it back in. The camera can then inspect the pipe to see if the blockage is cleared.
Yeah, go ahead and pull out. We're done.
With the job complete, the camera is removed, cleaned, and returned to the truck, and the crew moves on to the next job. In addition to addressing identified problems, the team will systematically check every line in the city in a 5-year period, keeping costs low and our community healthy, today and for years to come.
Lee Summit has lots of local destinations, but where do you start? Green Street, a vibrant community space in the heart of downtown, is where Lee Summit comes together. Its 3 dynamic areas have something for everyone. Green Street Market is a modern event venue and home to the downtown Lee Summit Farmers Market. Green Street Lawn is a covered performance space hosting live music, family activities, and more. Green Street Grove is a mixture of gathering spaces, an immersive playground, and bold architectural features. And all 3 areas host community events year-round. So the next time you set out to enjoy the city you love, remember, meet at Green Street.
Officers en route, 914, armed robbery.
Keeping our city beautiful is a collaborative effort for all citizens. The City of Lee Summit supports these efforts with a set of guidelines or ordinances, and the city's neighborhood services team helps put those guidelines into practice. These guidelines ensure grass stays trimmed, fences are maintained, home exteriors are kept up, and much more. We can all help out by first making sure our property meets these guidelines. If you notice a potential violation on a neighbor's property, first check the guidelines on the city's website. If it is a violation, the next step is to communicate with your neighbor directly. If that is not possible, or if the problem persists, it can be reported through LS Connect. LS Connect is an online platform for submitting issues to the city. You can access it on the city website or by downloading the app through your mobile device's app store. Once you submit an issue, it is reviewed by the Neighborhood Services team. A Neighborhood Services officer will then visit the site. For any violations found, the Neighborhood Services officer will leave a notice and speak with the property owner if possible. The officer's goal is to help the property owner solve or abate the problem as quickly as possible. After a 10-day period, the officer will inspect the site to see if the issue has been abated. Normally, by this point, the issue has been resolved. If not, depending on the type of issue, an extension could be granted, or the city might fix the problem at the owner's expense. In rare cases, if all other measures have been applied, the issue will be resolved in the municipal court. Neighborhood services officers work hard to resolve problems quickly and positively. They are here to support the community as we work together to keep our city beautiful.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome all of you to the Thursday, April 23rd, 2025 26 Planning Commission meeting. Can we get a roll call attendance, please?
Edward Urington.
Here.
Peyton Hatcher.
Here.
Terry Trafton. Dana Arth.
Present.
Jessica Greneau.
Present.
Tanya Janaford.
Present.
Chip Tazinski.
Present.
Randy Benbrook.
Present.
Thank you. And I would like to welcome Peyton Hatcher to the Planning Commission tonight. This is his first meeting, and you'll get to jump in and get your feet wet.
Thank you.
Can I get an approval of the agenda, please, and a motion?
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a modification to the agenda as presented. Or do you want them, is it okay?
What modification would you like?
I would like to move agenda item C to the A position so that we can continue that matter.
So that'd be the public hearing for the comprehensive plan amendment for the CIP. So item 6C on the agenda.
Yes.
Okay.
So where are you moving it?
Just to be first,
Okay.
before agenda item A.
In the public hearing section? Is
Yes,
that-
ma'am. Yes.
Okay, I thought you were moving something off the consent agenda.
No,
Okay.
within the agenda itself.
Okay. All right, so can we get a motion to approve the agenda as modified?
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as modified.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Edward Yerington,
Yes.
Peyton Hatcher,
Yes.
Dana Arth,
Yes.
Jessica Greneau,
Yes.
Tanya Janaford,
Yes.
Chip Tazinski,
Yes.
Randy Benbrook.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Do we have any public comments related to business of the Planning Commission in general? Okay. We will move on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve that?
Motion to approve. Second.
Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Edward Yerington,
Yes.
Peyton Hatcher,
Yes.
Dana Arth,
Yes.
Jessica Greneau,
Yes.
Tanya Janaford,
Yes.
Chip Tazinski,
Yes.
Randy Benbrook.
Yes.
All right, thank you. I will now close the regular hearing and open the public hearing in the matter of, let me see here. Application PL 2026-069 Comprehensive Plan Amendment, Capital Improvement Plan, the CIP for 2027 through 2031. Does the applicant have a presentation?
Ready to be sworn in?
Oh. Would all of those who plan to speak on behalf of this application please stand up and be sworn in at this time?
Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Good evening. I'm George Binger, city engineer. What I'm presenting this evening is the proposed capital improvement plan for starting the fiscal year 2027. So I'll walk through the presentation. I'll put the slides up and talk and kind of give you a chance to read them. If you need me to stop, slow down, just let me know. But I don't plan on reading the slides, just kind of let you walk through it. So this is kind of the agenda, kind of go through the process, how we get here, and some of the details that are in the plan and the public comment. And then I guess let me back up too as well. I'd like to enter in to the record Exhibit A, list of exhibits 1 through 8.
Exhibit A, 1 through 8, entered into the record.
Thank you. Okay, so the purpose of the plan is maintaining the city's infrastructure, and this is just an illustration of what the city currently owns and is projected to grow. And this is strictly from the public works standpoint, stormwater and roadway. And you can see the big number is stormwater because that's all the structures, that's all the inlets and everything. So that's why that looks much bigger than it is. But you can see there, as the city grows, our infrastructure continues to grow. So this capital improvement plan is for constructing, reconfiguring, rebuilding, as well as large improvements to existing infrastructure. And so that's what this is trying to address on this side. It includes other facets such as our facilities, water, sewer, and the airport as well. So in this process, I like to describe it as a funnel. Basically, we're down here at this point in the process with the the public comment period and public presentation. And this is trying to illustrate that through this process, there's many opportunities for public input. So it kind of molds and guides what we put in here. So kind of starting at the very big picture, we have the comprehensive plan, the IGNITE comprehensive plan that feeds into it, our strategic plan, and then from there we develop our infrastructure master plan, such as our water, sewer, thoroughfare master plans. And so we walk through this process, and then with that, we put together the plan for projects to deliver these goals for the city. So the CIP is a planning document. It's also a budget document. The 5-year part that I'm presenting tonight is presenting the plan for the next 5 years. It is fiscally constrained, so every project, every budget has funding identified to complete that project. And the projects that are in here are local policy. If it's more than $75,000, we'll include it in the plan. Sometimes it will, so that plan or program. And then the state definition includes owned by a government agency, included about not limited to all the items you see there at the bottom. And so that's what we're required to show in this plan. So I mentioned the input. It comes through, we just closed the online period. One of the things that Public Works Committee's asked us to do, and we're going to work is developing on our website where we can have this open year-round so that people can make comments on plans, recommendations, and requests year-round and kind of guide into this. Because one of the things that we get with Public Works and water utilities is we track service requests. These are when people call and they complain about traffic, stormwater, flooding. And so over time, that's part of that public input, all the service requests and work orders that we have, because that'll feed into the asset management. An example of that would be the Southeast Douglas project. For many years, we've been getting lots of calls and service requests related to stormwater, a need for sidewalks in that area, on Douglas, south of 4th Street. So that program was kind of on that list or bench of projects, and so when the bond issue came forward, we were able to present that, and that's how we allocated funding for that. But we knew there was a public demand for it. And then we have elections is another form of input, approving sales tax, bond issues. All the planning documents I described go through a public comment process as well. And then we present this process at several stages through the Public Works Committee. When we look at the review process, obviously we have guidance from Council and Planning Commission, looking at conditions within the strategic plan, the comp plan. And one of the main policies we have when it comes to sales tax funding is we want to cash flow these projects. So we don't use the sales taxes for debt financing. Obviously on the water utility side, since they're based on user fees, they base their projects and capital planning on a cash flow basis. We look at the comments, we submit these, the ones we received online, the 3 we received online have been submitted in the public record. 2 of those comments are related to stormwater in the downtown area, and 1 was related to a traffic or proposed project near Todd George, Oldham Parkway, between Todd George and Blackwell. So then we look at prioritizing, getting the funding, so some of the prioritization we look at in staff, infrastructure condition, the cost, service life, things, is there a public safety issue like traffic signals? That's the main driving factor when those are added to the program. So when we look at some of our factors, now the ones that have a star by it indicate where we definitely have council or public input. We have input on that. On the left, those are things we look at as staff that may guide what we're doing, such as safety, mandates and regulations like Clean Water Act for our erosion control, stormwater and water and sewer capacity issues when it comes to traffic, infrastructure condition, like our stormwater, if we have failing metal pipe, that leads to that metal pipe program that we have. And so these are just some of the factors that we look at. And again, and then when we get into this annual approval process, we start off with what's required. Some projects have been presented in a bond issue. We have to do that project. Some where we have an interagency agreement or a grant. We have to do that project. Highly recommended, those are projects where, like in our sales tax elections, we go out, we don't put a list of projects on the ballot. We have in the public education and information, we say these are the projects we'd like to do with this funding. And we kind of look at that as almost kind of like as a social contract with the community that we've made a commitment to do those projects. So that's another thing that feeds into that. Then we look at the, and then we periodically will touch on the unfunded list of projects so that we can identify, build that bench for future funding opportunities. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the 5-year plan is adopted as an amendment to the comprehensive plan. And then the first year, FY27, will be authorized as part of the city's annual budget. How a lot of this happens is, again, we have these programs, some going back to 1985 with the sales tax. We started the Parks and Rec has an ongoing sales tax. We have the CIP sales tax goes back to 1997 and it's been renewed twice since then. The excise tax, which is a tax on new development or redevelopment that generates new traffic, that goes into that excise tax fund, and that is for roadway improvements anywhere within the city. It's not necessarily tied to a development project, and the guidance on that from the License Tax Committee is we want to make sure it benefits multiple locations. So an example of that would be we use this funding as like our seed money for the 291 interchange project in 291 and 50 North. We allocated $6 million to that. We were able to match that with grant money to show the local commitment, and so that kind of what got that project going for that. And then the use tax, that mirrors in any of our dedicated sales taxes that we have. Long-term commitments, this is where things like the comprehensive plan and planning studies come into play. An example, first project that I worked on I think in 1999 was the Todd George and Scruggs Road improvements. That was planned in 1968. It's based on an alignment study from 1968. That was matched up with funding in the 1997 sales and excise tax. And then that also led to like the bond issue we had in the 1990s. Which Ward Road was part of that between 3rd Street and Longview. And we can see how with that master plan, Ward Road has been improved in phases over time. 291 South Corridor is kind of an example where more on the planning side that came into play, where you now see the Chick-fil-A, the Q39, and all that's going in. That's been in the works for quite some time. But knowing that there's that comprehensive land use plan, that's how we were working on Shearer Road, Jefferson improvements, the interchange project there for 291 South. All of that was done based on some of the land use planning for that area. So as an example, what we look at like in the sales tax. So this is our CIP sales tax. When this was renewed in 2017, we were projecting $150 million over 15 years. So that's what these lines are showing over here. We programmed less than that just to account for, changes in issue, if the revenue didn't meet the expectations, project costs go up significantly. But what you're seeing here with the green line is the actual revenues with inflation over time. The red line is what we've spent over time. Now, with this, there's a lot of, the reason we're able to exceed this currently is because of the grants we've received. Grants are not planned into our forecasting for these projects. The other thing we did not know at this time was we're going to be adding the use tax, which adds about $2 million per year to this fund. The sales tax is about $12 million, the use tax is about $2 million. And so what we're seeing is going from 150 to close to $230 million of revenue over this 15-year time span. So that's why you see some projects, that's allowed us to do a lot more on the stormwater side, on the capital side. So these are some of the things that allows us to make small changes in the plan. We're committed to the sales tax, we're committed to the overall comprehensive plan, but when we actually start sequencing projects, scoping projects, this has allowed us to make certain changes in this area. So this is an example on this, how this sales tax has worked for us. And this is these are the projects that were presented in 2017. We're basically halfway through this. We've completed 10 projects, 12 are underway out of the total of 26. And some of these are ongoing programs like the CMP, the corrugated metal pipe replacement program. That's an ongoing, so we're spending about $500,000 to $1 million every year on that until we hit the max for that program. Same thing with the sidewalk gap program, where we're trying to fill in the gaps. You know, as we have projects, we can we may be able to add to that. This is just an illustration of what we currently have with grants. These are the active grant projects that we have. This is close to about 33 million for transportation. The airport, a lot of that, the aviation infrastructure is supported by grants. A lot of those grants are for the aviation are between a 90 to 95% federal and state cost share. So it's basically this costs the city 5% of the project, 5 to 10% of that project. So that's things for like runway, potentially air traffic control tower, taxiways, things that support the aviation side. Now, Hangar 2 is it's considered ground side infrastructure, so that was locally funded through our bond issue. Now, the general terminal building, it's a mix between aviation support and ground side, so that's why you see some grant money associated with that. Okay, so highlights for this year's CIP. From prior years through FY27, we're programming approximately $436 million of work in all categories. Over the life of this 5-year plan, it's closer to $750 million in program projects. We've closed 28 projects that will no longer be in the CIP, and I've got a list of those on the next slide, totaling about $139 million. We're adding 20 new projects and programs of about $53 million. And so you can see the new projects on the left. Most of the programs are annual, like our overlay program, water rehab. So the projects you see, like mostly in the airport, Bridge Street and Signal, are things that we've added this year. And then completed projects, you can see Hangar 2, and then when you go below the programs, we're counting like Chipman Road, Colburn Road, of course, the Green Street project across the street. So those projects were completed in this last fiscal year. So those will be coming off the CIP. This is an example of basically how we resequence stuff. All these projects are in the plan, but when we start looking at, do we want this project to go first? Do we need to move it, out a few years for funding or back? This is some of the detail stuff that we'll work on, that we work through. One of the conversations we're having, like on the sidewalk gap program, is that goes back to our 2007 inventory, where we're looking specifically at gaps, and we had to define that by near schools. Well, we get a lot of comment where places that aren't defined as a gap. Example being Green Street in the downtown area. There is continuous sidewalk, but it's not on the same side of the street. So to use the sidewalk, you have to go a few blocks across the street, go down the other street. So those are the comments we're going to have a public works committee if we want to reevaluate that, because we've pretty well completed all the tier ones, which are within a quarter mile of the elementary schools. We've completed all those gaps. We've completed all the easy ones, where it's just pretty much laying sidewalk. The program we have this year requires a lot of retaining wall construction, utility relocation. So that's just an example of how we kind of, as staff, will kind of tweak this within the guidelines or parameters that we have. So this is kind of breaking out the total by the different categories. Again, the programs are generally the annual, overlay, slurry seal, water rehab, or like water facilities programs. The airport, what you're seeing here is with the completion of Hangar 2 and the admin building, that's completing most of the large master plan projects that are in there. This could change significantly if we're able to add the air traffic control tower, because this project does include design for that. It's in a list of congressional projects going forward for funding that we would have the answer on that this year, but that would be a $10 million project that probably could be added in the next capital improvement plan if that moves forward. Bridge Street and Signal, again, you're seeing that we're complete, as you saw on the illustration of the sales tax, we're completing a lot of the big projects. So that's why you'll see like the cost is starting to go down on some of these, because Colburn Road, Pryor Road were both $25 to $30 million projects, which were some of the largest projects we've done within the city. Facilities, again, you're seeing the completion of Green Street, the Joint Operations Center, a lot of those in the bond issue projects, so that's why you're seeing that starting to taper off a little bit. Then water, that continues to stay pretty steady because one of their main expenses is the water rehab program. That's where they have to go out and, replace old water main that, where they could, mainly due to frequent breaks in the water main. So that's what we're planning over the next 5 years. So how we get there, this is an example of the detail sheet within the capital improvement plan. And so each project starts with its own independent cost estimate. Our project managers, consultants will help develop a construction cost estimate, and then we'll work through and develop the soft costs associated with that. So this is an example of Ward Road that's currently under construction over by Westview Elementary. Again, it started out, it was identified in the 2016 Thoroughfare Master Plan. It's also part of the Greenway Master Plan. There's also, pavement infrastructure and conditions. There's a need for that. And we got a lot of public input requesting work in this area. Some of the conversations we have at council are identifying the delivery method. So we've added that this year. Do we do a design build, construction manager at risk, some of the small stuff, maybe like a job order contract. This is design bid build is how this one is delivered. So that's been added this year. This is where, and then the middle section is where we identify the funding and we tie it to a specific source of revenue. And down here at the bottom is where we show how it supports the strategic plan, the comprehensive plan. And so that's what we present on the detailed projects. We work through each of these projects individually to roll up in those big numbers that you see in the tables. This is our timeline. We're currently here at the Planning Commission. Again, we started this last fall, working with Public Works Committee with the resolution. Then that goes to council in May, and then when the budget is finalized, that FY27 will be presented. One thing I want just to share with you is this is what our online comment page looks like right now. If you go to the city website and you just, in the search bar, type capital improvement plan, it'll take you to this page. And so when you go to this page, there's a dashboard you can click on that has a map with GIS links on there. You can zoom out on projects there. You can look up the current capital improvement plan. And this is where people can go to make comments on this. And if you click on the comment section, the page that pops up it'll have, where you can look at the plan and submit a comment. When those comments are submitted, it generates an automated email that comes to us, and that's what is one of the exhibits that was presented tonight. So with that, it concludes my presentation. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Hatcher.
On the 2017 CIP sales tax chart of different projects, what were the outstanding MoDOT partnership projects?
The highlight is underway. So a partnership is like our 50 Highway 291 North interchange. We also use this to fund when MoDOT redid Shipman Road. We paid for the decorative improvements, the form liners on the bridge underneath. That was a city cost. And then we're also in the current grant application process through Mid-America Regional Council. We're pursuing a cost share for improvements, the pedestrian improvements at 3rd and 50. So this allows us to, form those partnerships, or again, kind of some seed money to work with MoDOT.
So there's not necessarily long-term outstanding projects that just have not been completed?
Correct. Most of the stuff that that MoDOT is pursuing is on their system, and it's going to be handled through the state level, like adding like 3-laning 470. That is on MoDOT has what's called an unfunded needs list that's evaluated annually, and that project is on that list. But usually things that are on that list may move into their improvement plan. I think recently, they had moved the US 50 pavement reconstruction onto their transportation from the unfunded list to the program list.
Thank you.
I have a few questions. I saw toward the end of the presentation that items 75,000 or below are not considered as part of the CIP. I think it was, it was the website page you showed. At the very end, I think, which I thought was actually really great. Yeah, that.
Okay.
So it says 75, less than 75,000, so that doesn't include those. I just have a question, and it may not be an easy one to answer, but a traffic light, what's the general cost of that?
The last two signals installed, I believe, were about, I want to say about $500,000 apiece.
Okay, okay.
Generally, that's the starting price, and then we have to do geometric improvements, add turn lanes, other things, the price goes up from there.
Okay, so those do show up on the CIP?
Yes.
Okay, so when I was walking neighborhoods during the election period, I spoke to several residents, and they were off of Woods Chapel. They asked about a traffic signal there. There's been some accidents there, and there's been, a school bus was recently hit. And I'm talking like where northeast, it's on the north, it's North Park, no, wait a minute. It's Northeast Park Spring on the north side, and then Northeast Chapel, south, is that South Manor Drive? I can't read my writing, but it's right there where if Savannah Ridge, I guess that's one of the subdivisions, and then I think the other one is Park Ridge, perhaps.
Okay.
It's a really dangerous area because if you're turning left either from the north side or the south, it's scary. I don't like pulling out there, and a lot of the residents have been really concerned about accidents. And so I guess my question is, how does something like that if a school bus gets hit, it's a Blue Springs school bus, I would say that could even open the city up for some liability. I'm just questioning how does that work? How do things get put on there that become more like an emergency situation if there have been accidents, or is that an emergency?
When it comes to traffic signals, excuse me, there are signal warrants. So the intersections have to meet certain warrants. So, there's warrants like peak hour demand, total demand, accident history. Those are examples. Now, typically, if residents have an issue there, we encourage them to call Public Works at 969-1800 so we can track that. We can get that. We can log it as a service request. And our traffic staff does periodic, they do traffic counts every year. They don't, they cycle through the city so that over time we get the entire city. They also cycle through intersections. And so what would happen is there'd have to be a traffic study for that intersection to see if it meets warrants. Because the reality is if a signal is installed that does not meet warrants, that would expose the city to liability because we're not following the industry standards and the safety standards. If a signal does start to meet warrants, usually if it meets one warrant, we start looking at it more closely. I know MoDOT has a policy to have to meet like several warrants, and that's generally how we take a similar approach to that. So there would be a study involved to see if it meets warrants for a signal.
Okay. And so then if it does that affect the CIP at that point? Do you have to shuffle things around sometimes?
Sometimes we do. As an example, if you look in the FY26 CIP, we had two signal projects in there, 3rd and Bridlewood, and then Chipman and Todd George. That's because those signals met warrants.
Okay.
They were not in the CIP in FY25. They were added, and then they were completed this year.
Okay. And so if revenues, just back to sometimes shuffling things around, if revenues don't come in as projected, then certain things have to fall off or be moved to the next year? Is that?
There's different strategies. We can either reprioritize projects. We can spread project over multiple years. We can extend just to get that annual revenue. But that's that chart I was showing how sometimes we shuffle things around to resequence.
Okay. All right. That's all the questions I have. Did you have one, Commissioner Yerington?
Yes, I want to follow up with some of your points. What would warrant a reevaluation of a capital improvement project? Like, say you had multiple accidents that may come up, you know, to her point, may have a bus or traffic wrecks happen from time to time, and it just happens more frequently, but that's after the capital improvement plan has already been established. So what would trigger a new evaluation with a traffic study to make that a priority over maybe something that maybe is not as high of a priority?
That's something that we regularly evaluate, but to reprioritize, you know, the plan can be amended. And so that would have to go back through the process. We'd have to get council approval to change budgets and things of that nature, but it can be done. An example, several years ago, we had a sinkhole, somebody's backyard, metal pipe failed, trees falling towards the house. We had to do an emergency budget amendment. It was about a $600,000 budget amendment to fix the pipe. But that came out of the city's reserve fund in that case. So if there's a true emergency situation, yes, we can do that. A lot of times the traffic signals aren't really emergencies. I mean, yeah, the accidents are not, you know, they're not good. But sometimes it's just, you know, we have to work through that. We have to develop that warrant analysis.
And that warrant analysis that you put what would constitute a enough warrants to put it up on a priority list?
That's somewhat subjective.
Yeah.
When I say, because actually, I don't know, Susan, if I could refer to you, because this is our traffic engineer. She can describe all the warrants for you.
Susan Berry, City Traffic Engineer. I think you're mostly interested in the crash warrant, probably.
Sure.
So the crash warrant is 12 correctable crashes within a 12-month period. That's not per year, that's in a 12-month period. And so correctable is mostly right-angle crashes or a left turner turning in front of someone on Woods Chapel. Those are considered correctable. So every time we are well aware of when there's a crash, people always let us know. And then, you know, we look into this, you know, the details of the crash, and a lot of times they're not considered correctable because the signal's not going to fix everything. It's going to increase the amount of rear end crashes you're going to have. But those right angle crashes, those, you know, T-bones, those are the most serious, and so that's why that's kind of the guideline for 5 correctable within a 12-month period.
Oh, it's 5?
5 correctable in a 12-month period.
Okay.
I mean, there's still some engineering judgment in there as well.
Sure. Okay. So each warrant, every time is an incident, that's a warrant?
No, the crash warrant is the 5 crashes. There's also a peak hour, so either AM or PM peak. There's certain volumes that can be reached. There's a 4-hour warrant, there's an 8-hour warrant. And those are all based on volumes. So usually signals are warranted by volume.
Okay. Okay.
So are some warrants considered more severe than others? Like the crash warrants, are those more severe than traffic, like traffic flow warrants?
No, not
Okay.
usually.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions?
I have one last one real quick. The public input, when you have public input, do you get, how much on average do you get an input or emails from the public asking for information?
During the comment period, the most we received about 4 years ago was 12. Last year we had 1, and it wasn't related to the capital improvement plan. This year we received 3 that are actually related to the capital improvement plan.
Okay.
So that's why we encourage the service requests, calling, you know, if you have people approach you, call us, because we can track that. I mean, when we get a service request, we record, you know, we have a record of all those phone calls. And that's why the committee, Public Works Committee, had asked us to, let's see if we can open those year round. And so we're going to be working with Creative Services to create one where we can kind of guide people into it. Because we don't want to get into like fiscal policy or just whatever, you know, policing, fire safety. We don't want to get into that in this. We want to focus on infrastructure, on capital improvements and things like that. So if people have, you know, like I say, traffic concerns, stormwater issues, things of that nature, that's what we try to guide people into in this.
My question was geared towards just like transparency from the city and the communication, how we interact with the residents of Lee Summit. So that was just a food for thought for saying that we probably need some more, I guess, way to bring this out to the residents so they can see that they have a communication channel in which they can contact the city. So thank you for that. Thank you.
I like the idea of making it making it known that they can comment or call year-round, because then it helps you keep track of it. And the more you receive on an issue, that counts probably more.
Exposure.
Yes, exactly.
Sure, thank you.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak in support or opposition of this application? Any additional questions from the commission? Hearing no further testimony, I will now close the public hearing and reopen the regular meeting. Is there any commission discussion on this application? I would just like to say thank you. I learn more every time about how all this works, so we appreciate that. And if we have no more questions or comments, I would entertain a motion. And this is a motion for approval, not a recommendation of approval.
Right, so the first motion that you'll make is you'll make a motion to direct staff to present a resolution to approve the CIP, and then the resolution will be a separate one that'll follow that up.
Okay, so, all right, so we have to direct the staff to do the resolution.
To present the resolution.
Oh, they need to present that next.
Well, not presentation as in like what George, so much as like we are to produce for you the document by which you will take action on that will approve the comp plan amendment. And then it's magically already in your agenda, so then we'll just take the motion on that one.
So we forgot to direct them, didn't we?
What's that?
We forgot to direct them before they presented.
Oh, well, your motion right now, someone will make a motion right now to direct staff to present it, and then that really leads into the second item on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Would you like to do the motion,
Sure.
Commissioner Yankton?
Yes. I move to direct staff to present a resolution adopting the Capital Improvement Plan 2027-2031 as an amendment to the City of Lee Summit's Ignite Comprehensive Plan as amended, and approving the location, extent, and charter of all public improvements described in the City of Lee Summit's Capital Improvement Plan 2027 to 2031.
Second.
Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Edward Yerington,
Yes.
Peyton Hatcher,
Yes.
Dana Arth,
Yes.
Jessica Greneau,
Yes.
Tanya Janaford,
Yes.
Randy Benbrook.
Yes.
All right. So staff is not going to give anything. We're just going to make the motion. Okay. All right. So we need a motion for the actual resolution. Commissioner Benbrook, since it's your last week, would you like to do that?
Yeah, I can do that. It's not in our paperwork though, is it? Recommendation?
If you do resolution, approve the resolution, it's the same, it's what's in item 1, just say approve the resolution. Because we're approving.
Okay. Chair, I move to approve resolution adopting the capital improvement plan. 2027 to 2031 as an amendment to the City of Lee Summit Ignite Comprehensive Plan as amended, and approving the location, extent, and character of all public improvements described in the City of Lee Summit Capital Improvement Plan 2027-2031.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Edward Yerington,
Yes.
Peyton Hatcher,
Yes.
Dana Arth,
Yes.
Jessica Greneau,
Yes.
Tanya Janaford,
Yes.
Randy Benbrook.
Yes.
All right, thank you. I will now close the regular meeting and open the public hearing in the matter of continued application PL 2025-338 and PL 2025-339 preliminary development plan and special use permit for convalescent nursing or retirement home, Lee Summit Senior Community, 5101 Northeast Lakewood Way, Lee Summit Senior Living Community, LLC applicant. Would all of those who plan to speak on behalf of this application please stand up at this time and be sworn in?
Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do.
Thank you. Does the applicant have a presentation?
So my name is Eric Wallish, E-R-I-C, Wallish, W-A-L-E-S-H, 9100 West 158th Street, Overland Park, Kansas. No disrespect, but I'm not putting a sport coat on. It's too humid. Just a little review here. We were last at Planning Commission on March 12th, and we were deferred to resolve some issues with some adjoining neighbors. So we're back here tonight having met. We did a Zoom call, and I would say about 7 homeowners were on the Zoom call, and this was after we did the official neighborhood notice meeting. As I mentioned earlier, we are doing a CCRC, a continuing care retirement community, so independent living, assisted living, and memory care. So I'm just going to do a quick review of the overall project to kind of refresh everyone's memory, and then I'll talk about some of the accommodations we made with the neighbors, and then Tim will go into more detail on the actual plan modifications. So this is the site. You're looking at about 12 acres at the northeast corner of Lakewood Way and Bolin. The actual address is 5101 Northeast Lakewood Way. So the project is approximately 172 units, and that's about 104 units of independent living, and then 48 units of AL and 20 units of memory care. And then we have about 15 single-story villas that abut more of the northerly property. Again, about 12 acres. The total project square footage, about 170,000. And then the height, and you measure to the midpoint, is 39 feet to the midpoint. And then in Missouri, for the memory care and the assisted living beds, you're required to get a certificate of need, a CON. We do have that, so the need is definitely there. The independent living does not require a CON. You know, the benefits of our project, obviously, we provide care to seniors, but there are other ones that kind of spin off. I mean, obviously, there's no negative effect on the schools. There's only a positive effect, really, because often, especially on the independent living side, they volunteer in the school system. Very low traffic generator. And one that we're seeing more and more is it frees up housing for younger generations, because a lot of the seniors, and our average age is 79, 80. I mean, they're in their big houses. They are allowed to come to our community, which frees up that housing stock for younger generations. And then, of course, it allows people in Lee Summit to age in place. So, as I said, we had a Zoom call, and I would say there are 3 issues that arose. One is we initially, and Tim will go on in plan and show you this, but we had a generator on the northern side of the property. So we've relocated that away from the neighbors to the southern end. And then we had a dumpster enclosure closer to the northern boundary. And there's only so much we can do because that needs to be near our commercial kitchen. So we moved that closer to our building, and then we provided more landscaping around it. And then Tim will go into greater detail, but we also increase the landscape buffer between us and the northern boundary. So with that, I'm going to introduce Tim Wilson with SWD Architects to give you a little bit more detail. Tim?
Tim Wilson, SWD Architects, 315 Nichols Road, Suite 228, Kansas City, Missouri, 64112. I'm going to back up here a little bit and kind of go back through. So this was our plan that we had initially back at our March 12th meeting. And the main points of discussion were this was where our backup generator was located at that time, and this is where our dumpsters were located at that time, and then also concern about the amount of buffering, landscaping along this property line here. So those were the three items that Eric mentioned that we've worked with, trying to improve those conditions. And then, as Eric mentioned, we had a Zoom call again with the neighbors on the 30th and went over what we were proposing to do with those three items. And so what we've done is the generator is now at this location. So formerly back here, actually a little closer, we've actually rerouted this drive a little bit here to increase our green space between the neighbors in our drive back there. And we took the dumpsters, which were about right here. We have pulled those down further to the south, pulled them away from the neighbors on that side. And then also, I'll get to the landscaping plan here. We've added additional landscaping around that dumpster location to help conceal that location and minimize the view from the neighbors at that point. For the buffering here, being able to pull this road away, we were able to increase this area here, the green space here. We added additional evergreen trees along this buffer here. We're at 150% of the requirement for the buffer, so that resulted in adding 16 additional trees along here, evergreen trees. And the size of those trees will be 8 to 10 feet when they go in, is what they're specified as. And we will still have a little bit of area of fencing where we're not able to do the berms, but we've also tried to minimize where we have fence on fence for the screening between the neighbors. And that was the major changes as far as the concerns with the neighbors. We also did pull this drive in, as I talked about, and we rerouted this drive around here. And in the process of doing that, we eliminated this carport here too, so there's no longer a carport in that area. And we stretched out this end of the building a little bit. We did have it looping back here, and it was putting more of an exposure on the residents at that point, so we've tried to minimize that view of the building back there as well. And those were the changes from when we were here previously.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a staff presentation?
Good evening, Hector Soto Jr., Senior Planner. At the last public hearing, I had entered into the record Exhibit A list of Exhibits 1 through 19. With this meeting, I am amending that, and I am adding items 20 through 23, which consist of a staff memo that's in the packet, the revised preliminary development plan in the packet, the neighborhood meeting notes also in the packet, and protest petitions that were received April 17th and 21st also in the packet, respectively. So.
Please enter exhibits 20 through 23 into the record.
Ooh, that is too low. Okay, so I will be reiterating some of the information that's been previously mentioned by the applicant. We'll maybe go into a little bit more detail on some things. But as the applicant had mentioned, we were here about a little bit more than a month and a half ago. And residents expressed some concerns about the layout, particularly as was pointed out regarding the generator locations and trash enclosure locations. At that time, the applicant had indicated they were amenable to reviewing the site plan to see what opportunities there might be to address some of those concerns and provide a little more separation between those what we'll call problem areas in the view of the residents, and see what can be done to change that. So I'll just kind of highlight and maybe look a little bit closer at some of the changes that were made. So the first one had to do with the trash dumpsters, which the applicant had mentioned. The original plan had them at about 67 feet or so at their closest point to the adjacent subdivision to the north. And with the revision, they were able to increase that, gain about another 50 feet, 46 feet or so separation. Again, they're somewhat constricted, as the applicant stated, in that there has to be proximity to the kitchen facilities in the building, but they were able to gain almost 50 feet of additional separation. The generator location is the one that was most significantly different from the plan. The previous one was at around 60, a little bit more than 60 feet away from the adjacent residences. Here, they were able to move them about 600 feet away, moved them all the way over to the Lakewood Way street frontage. And to allay any concerns about the visibility of those, here there is kind of a little bit of screenshot here, that they will be surrounded on 3 sides by enclosure walls, and they will be landscaped. So they'll be hidden from view. The opening is angled away from the street, but to soften the view of that enclosure, there will also be a significant amount of landscaping placed around them. One item that wasn't mentioned was that one of the areas of concern was there was some concern about the height with the independent living wing being about 3 stories, and there were some concerns about the perception of loss of privacy from some of those units that might be overlooking the subdivision to the north. So one of the changes that was made, and you can see here on the image on the lower left, that some of the end units, there were some units facing or with balcony views toward the subdivision to the north. And a change that was made was they narrowed down that end and removed those, I guess this little wing that shoots off of there. All that remains are 3 sets of windows and 1 man door. And in looking at the floor plan, the area where these windows are located, they are at the end of hallways and / stairwells, so there will be no units on that 3rd story end that will be overlooking toward the residential subdivision. And then finally, the applicant had touched on this. With the relocation of the transformers and generators and trash enclosures, they were able to kind of reconfigure some of the driveway and parking areas there that were closest to the Ridgewood Hill subdivision. And in doing so, they were able to kind of tilt down or angle the drive away from them, and were able to gain an additional 30 feet of separation from some of those parking areas to those residences to the north. So that is a summary of the changes that were made. As the applicant mentioned, there was a second neighborhood meeting held on March 30th. Since that date, so since the last public hearing, we did receive protest petitions. So far, we've received them representing 13 properties. This image here on the right highlights in red, or more, I guess it'd be more of a rouge color, that highlights the location of those 13 properties. This cobalt color that rings the pond property is a representation of a 185-foot buffer around it. So with the protest petitions that have been submitted, the goal of a petitioner is to try to trigger a minimum 6-vote approval at the city council level versus just a simple majority of 5 votes. And so this is for edification of new members, reminding some more longer tenured members, and also for the edification of some more residents here, that between now and city council, which additional protest petitions can be filed right up to the day. We prefer them a couple days ahead of time so we can work through some of these calculations. But within this 185-foot buffer, if the city receives protest petitions representing a minimum of 30% of this cobalt area, exclusive of right-of-way. So it'll be, let me, if I would get the laser pointer, So this is private property, so the portion that lies within 185 feet of this property, the properties on the south of Bolin, the county property, everything that lies in the north, subdivision to the north, we will calculate what the gross square footage is of those privately owned and county-owned properties, take that gross square footage, and then compare that to the protest petitions that have been submitted, and those portions of property that lie within 185 feet, if they constitute at least 30%, then that at the city council level will trigger 6 votes. So the calculation hasn't been done yet. There may be more protest petitions that come in. This protest petition that's been filed so far has no bearing on any action you'll take tonight, so this is more informational for you and some of the residents. So with that, staff's recommendations for approval. There are really two components. When you get to the ordinance that'll go in front of city council, the ordinances will be broken up into two pieces. There'll be the preliminary development plan, which has two conditions here, and condition number 2, staff updated to reference the newer version of the plans. And then the second component that city council will take action on will be the special use permit, with the length being 40 years as a recommended and requested time period. So with that, I'll yield to any questions you may have.
Thank you, Hector. Do we have any questions for the staff or applicant? I'll start with Commissioner Yerington.
I guess the only question I would have is that the applicant satisfied the concerns with where the generators were going as well as the trash, and moved some carports out of the way. So they addressed the concerns from the presentation that they had in March. Is that correct?
The applicant made changes according to what their understanding was of the areas of concern from the residents. I can't speak to necessarily say that all of the residents may feel that it might be enough, but they've made significant changes in response to those concerns that were raised at that time.
That's good. Yeah. So I was responsible for them to do that. Mm-hmm. Let's see, decibels. Do we know the decibels of the generators, that the noise level that is cause for concern, or no?
The generators that we are looking at here would be two 600 kW generators, and generally they are running about 75 decibels when they cycle them, mm-hmm. and that's within 75 feet of the generator itself.
Okay. And
so
the further you get away,
we're 600 feet away.
Sure.
From the neighbors.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to gauge so it buffers it out. The further you get out, the less problematic it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's all the question I had. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Hatchard?
You mentioned the protest process. Thank you for the information there. If this use was permitted by right or conditionally permitted, what ability to protest would there be, or what would that process look like as far as how they would get approved?
So the way our ordinance is written, applicants can submit protest petitions on any rezoning and any preliminary development plan. So in this case, we don't have a rezoning, but we do have a preliminary development plan, and as well as a special use permit. So the process would be, in order to try to trigger that 6-vote minimum, we do have to receive written requests or written protest petitions from those residents. We go through the process of evaluating to make sure that the signatures of property ownership match what the county records show. At that point, once we confirm whether they do or don't, then we're able to determine, based on these calculations, if they establish that 30% threshold.
So the process would be the same if it was a use that was permitted by right?
Oh, correct. Yes. Okay. Yes.
And on one of those red-green specific to this one, was the sound fence removed there in favor of the additional landscaping buffer I know you were highlighting the dumpster there. It caught my eye that 6-foot vinyl sound fence, it was removed. Sorry, maybe for applicant.
Yes, when we relocated the generator, we eliminated that sound fence at that point.
Okay, but additional landscaping was then added.
Right,
with
we do have
an
additional landscaping
setback.
in that area, yes.
Thank you. And additionally for the applicant, sorry, when the northeastern wing was revised there, did that reduce your unit count in total?
No, we were able to maintain the same unit count. And also one of the benefits of being able to modify that wing was it gave us the green space to allow us to move the dumpsters down there and still have a nice green space for the residents as well.
Got it. Thank you. That's it for me.
I just have a follow-up question to regarding the petition. The 185 feet, you had a diagram of that. So what you're saying is all of that blue area, that's the area where the petitions should come from. And if someone owns land here, a piece of it, if they're going to get more, their petition's going to be weighted more because it's based on, it's not going to be weighted more, but I guess my question is, if you had just 5 houses here, and then that took up a small percentage, but you had that land owned by other owners, and they didn't sign a petition, what those 5 houses did really wouldn't matter. Is that, it's based upon how much total, we have to get to the 30%, and
Right, so, so hypothetically, you could have, like in a case like this, the biggest immediate landowner is going to be Jackson County, but let's say that was privately owned. So let's say all of these to the north, let's say everyone was agreeable, but the only protesting party was a particularly large property owner. It's not based on the number of properties that we receive the notice from. It's always based on what square footage that represents relative to the buffer as a whole. So in some cases, you might have one property owner that alone might trigger 30%. In others, like here, you might have 13 folks, but just cumulatively, they just don't have enough real estate within that buffer to trigger the 30%.
okay, that's what I was wondering. Thank you. Commissioner Grono?
I have a quick question. Your very last slide that was talking about the special use permit. So granted for a period of, is it 40 years or 20 years that we're looking for?
Oh, sorry, that should be 40.
No, that's okay.
That should be 40.
I was just double checking.
Yes.
Happens to me all the time. You're not alone. And then I think my next couple of questions are all for the applicant. So my first question is just getting some clarity around, so for the actual assisted living component, you have to have a certificate of need, thank you. But you don't necessarily need or have that for the independent living. So how are you guys determining that there is a need for this type of residence within this area? How did you guys approach that?
There's a number of ways of doing it, but what most people do is you look at a certain radius around the property and you look for 2 demographics. One is what are called adult children, and that doesn't just mean immature adults. So 50 years or older, for example, I'm 60, so making decisions for the actual resident. So you look for a certain density of adult children that have a certain demographic, and then you look for those, a certain level of those 75 and older, and where those overlap, that's kind of considered the hot area. So we've done that, and I think we have 14 operating communities now. So this pops up, and we own the Princeton down the road, so we're very familiar with this market.
Great, great. Thank you for that. And then if I remember right, there was a resident or a couple of residents that were very concerned about having trees or having landscaping in their backyard. Am I remembering this correctly? Yes, blocking their view to the water.
So.
Did that get addressed, or?
Yes, we're not going to put landscaping on that area so they can continue to have the views to the lake.
Great. So even with the addition that was added in, that area is still going to stay the way it was?
That's a win-win. Saves us
Right,
money and
right.
keeps their view.
Great. I think that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jana Ford.
Thank you, Chair. This would be for Mr. Wilson or Mr. Walsh, whoever. I mean, maybe both. Tag team the question. Since this is a senior community, safety is always a priority, making sure at nighttime, we all like to take walks regardless of the time of day. What is the lighting like? And what I'm going to ask is, are we sure that with the lighting throughout the entire site, that there's no light spillage into the neighborhood behind?
Yes, we are sure. We submitted a photometric plan with our actual submittal. I don't know if you have that available.
Pull it up.
Yeah, we've been very conscious of not spilling the light into the neighbors' areas, and we're comfortable with the safety factor. It would be similar to what you would see at the Princeton
Okay.
right now. Yep. Yeah, because it's a high priority for the owner and the operator to maintain safety around the project.
And then,
Should be the last sheet, I believe, Hector.
So I'll speak to what our ordinance requires. So our ordinance, where you have residential against a type of residential, but there should be, under our ordinance, you cannot have more than 0.5 foot candles at that border between the adjoining properties. So here you can see they've got the spot foot candle measurements indicating that when you get to the property line, they're at 0.01, if not 0.00 throughout. So the lighting that they're proposing falls within compliance of allowable light levels at the property line.
okay. Thank you. That's all I needed.
Thank you, Commissioner Jazinski.
No additional questions, thank you.
Chair Benbrook.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Hector, while you're up here, moving the generator enclosure or the generators, and we'll get to that, down by the road, does that cause us a necessity of screening from the street?
Yes, our ordinances require for mechanical equipment, ground-mounted and roof-mounted, to have a solid screen, so it's not visible from off the site, so. Yes.
Okay, solid screen. Are we considering the enclosure of the generator the screen, or will it be enclosed or screened by a masonry wall?
It doesn't have to, under ordinance, it doesn't have to be a four-walled and roofed structure, so it doesn't have to be like indoor. It just has to be screened from view from off the property, so.
Right. Do we have that in the plans? I didn't see it.
Yeah, yes, we
Okay.
do. Mhm.
Maybe I just overlooked it.
And they've got some details, let's see. No. The PowerPoint had it, yeah.
It got to be difficult. It's my last meeting.
So that's the trash enclosure, so yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are those 6 foot, 8 foot, 10 foot? What are we looking at here?
If you go to our detail, if you can go back to our.
To yours?
Yeah, we've got it noted to match the height of the generator, and it's going to depend on the height of the tank for the fuel underneath it, so we've got it noted that we'll match the height of the generator.
Okay, and are we calling masonry walls?
We've got a combination of the masonry and the siding, so actually this is the one at the bottom, in the bottom right there, that's the one at the Princeton, so we're proposing a similar detail like that, and we actually have that drawn on our submission drawings right now.
Okay. And then while you're at the mic, I noticed you went from 1 generator to 2 generators in this application. Are you dividing the load between the 2 generators, or are you running an N+1 configuration?
I'm not an engineer.
An N+1 would be.
We went to 2 because.
So an N+1 is.
We can get them quicker
Okay.
than the one larger one.
Okay.
If we go with a 1,000 kW unit, we've had up to a year wait to get that. So when we
Yeah.
can split to 2 600s, that's more of a unit we can buy off the shelf.
Okay, so both generators are required to handle the whole load of the site?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That was what I have for the application. Hector, I got one more question about the protest. Is the causation of the protest form applicable to this public hearing? The causation?
Can you elaborate on what you mean by that?
Sure. I'm assuming when they file a protest that there's usually a cause that they list of why they're protesting. Is that cause applicable to what we're discussing today?
I mean, certainly, yes. I mean, the concerns that were raised are, some of it is loss of privacy, which one can argue maybe falls into compatibility, but some of it is also, some of the points that were raised were traffic concerns in the area, property values. So those were generally the biggest two, with traffic and property values and just compatibility.
So
there were some about the loss of views and wildlife habitat as well.
So to sum it all up, it was the official protest that was filed is congruent or encompassing of the initial concerns voiced by the neighbors.
Correct, yes.
That we heard last hearing.
Correct.
Okay, no additional.
No.
Okay. No. Thank you. Thank you, Hector. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in support or opposition of this application? And if so, if you haven't been sworn in, we need to do that at this time. So, okay, so I have 2 people that filled out forms. I have Bill Eads. Are you Bill? Okay. You can come to the microphone. You can pick whichever one you want and state your name and address for the record, and we will set the timer for 3 minutes.
My name is Bill Eads, live at 1063 Northeast Scenic Place, Lee Summit. Can somebody flip back some slides? I have the entire property. There you go. All right. I had a question back in December. This question wasn't raised at any of the last meetings. Really didn't get a real good answer back in December. Why couldn't these 2 buildings be flip-flopped to the top of the subdivision? Okay, there's already a, 18 to 20 foot drop from the backside of the houses up on the upper side where the grocery store was supposed to go years ago. With that drop off there, if you put a 3-story building up along here, that drops it down, that actually sets lower than the houses that are sitting up behind it. Okay? You got your 3-story building, your 2-story building, you're going downhill with the whole thing. And then at the bottom portion, down here where the buildings are, the villas could have been incorporated. I don't know how big this pad site is up here that's dug out flat, but it's huge. Absolutely huge. Just curious why that really wasn't ever given any more thought than when I brought it up the first time. Every project that y'all have built in Kansas City has the tall buildings by the road.
Excuse me, Mr. Eads, will you make sure you're addressing the Planning Commission?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Every building that they've built in Kansas City has a tall building by the road, the shorter buildings going away from it. That's the same way up north, Same way with here in Lee Summit, same way in South Kansas City. And that would make total sense with this also. I do have a thing for the Planning Commission going forward, whether this gets approved or not. But in a subdivision full of houses, I cannot build my house 20 foot off my back fence line, okay? Can't do it. Can't have 70 foot in front, 20 foot behind me. It's all houses are pretty much centered, correct? Why can't that be the standard for commercial development away from normal houses? So you have a 60-foot backyard, a 60-foot buffer zone in between that and commercial. That's it.
Thank you. Connie Eads.
Connie Eads, 1063 Northeast Scenic Place, Lee Summit, Missouri. I'm the house that backs up where they didn't put the bushes, so I appreciate that. One thing I don't understand about the petitions, it's a little clearer, but I don't really understand, where he showed that buffer that goes around, that's 185 feet. That would mean that we would have to get Gas Mart, the fire department, and Jackson County Parks and Recreation to come in on this project. Is that correct? Yeah. So the little bit of the votes that we have, which actually back up to the subdivision, to the project, don't really count, right?
Let us answer, we'll answer the questions afterward because we're supposed to just let you have the floor.
Yeah. So, on that voting thing, if I need to go, or the petition to go further, I would try to canvass the other locations, but being that they're businesses, I wouldn't know how to contact Jackson County Parks and Rec. The other question I had is, they've been talking about the buffer being moved, or the road being moved back, but they never said the square footage that it was moved distance from the houses. Original, they talked about 22 feet or 40 feet, and I just have never heard the final square footage today, like how far back are the buffers from the house. And I just wanted to see, I didn't see in the plans if there was going to be trees planted on the backside of the 3-story building, which backs up basically to the neighborhood as well. I think that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any more public comments? Come on up and state your name and address for the record, and you can pick either one.
Fell asleep while I was in there.
Don't fall.
Don't fall over. Hi, my name is Jessica Kors. I live at 5205 Northeast Holiday Drive. So mine is one of the properties that's against the kind of that back corner of the drive. I do appreciate the adjustments that were made, so those do help. However, it is still very close to our back property line in several areas, so there is a number of neighbors that are concerned. Not all of them have gotten their petitions in quite yet, but there is concern from the neighborhood for the proximity closeness. And as Bill kind of said, like, we're not allowed to replace or build a deck this close to a property line, as close as this drive is. So I don't know if the rules are and code is different for commercial construction than it is for residential, but that might be something just as the Planning Commission to consider. I believe it's 30 feet for residential. So anyway, the 3-story building is still a concern, and as well as just the closest. So just continuing to make our voice heard from the neighbors. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Any more comments from the public? Okay. Do we have any additional questions from the commission? Anything that you want to ask the applicant or staff regarding the comments from public?
I think one of us needs to address it, right? All right. why don't we
We're
judge?
starting with you.
Sure, why not? Okay, applicant. Let's talk about the three-story building. That was a concern. So if it's my understanding, the three-story building is the one closest to the small, or the pond, right? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the three-story building went there because that is the lowest and some of the most steep grading, is that correct?
Correct. We are using that building to help retain grade.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think last time you were here, you stated that that building was actually being used as a kind of a system to tier the lot to make the two-story building next to it able to be built. Is that correct?
Right. By using the three-story building, so what's happening is this building on this side is 2 stories at this point. And we're using the foundation wall under that 2-story to catch this grade here and keep this level, so we have a nice level drive coming in there at that point.
Okay.
So then from this point down to this point, as you're following this elevation, this side of the building becomes 3 stories. And it wraps around and it's 3 stories on the back side here.
Okay.
So this courtyard level back here is actually lower than the main entry point at this point.
So maybe you can identify for us the general slope direction of this property.
So we're sloping, this is your high point, and everything's sloping down to the lake.
Okay. So what would the complication be if you were to take that, the 3-story long building and push it up to the road? What would the complications be?
Well, the complication would be the owner's trying to maximize as many units as he can with a lake view.
Okay. Does it limit your access to the site as far as your access drives?
Yeah, well, you can see the size of this building. To try to fit this up in here, it's not going to work. We've looked at multiple site layouts on this from the beginning, and to be able to have the adjacencies within the buildings and to have the shared kitchen between the assisted living and the independent living and to have one point of entrance, this is where it needs to be, and it also gives the best visibility for the entrance and marketability for the property facing the road like that. And we felt that this was a better use up here for the villas because we're putting as many of the lower roof single-story buildings adjacent to the neighbors.
So if you were to reconfigure it as was stated by one of the questions and push the big buildings up toward the road, it would actually, the configuration would actually push them closer to the homes, I would say, to the north point of the lot instead of being close to the ones toward the south point of the lot. Is that kind of an accurate statement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because
So we're not
this-
really improving, we're just shifting which neighbors have the taller building next to them.
Right, and you're going
Which
to
means we'd have a different group of neighbors here making a statement.
Correct,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, you're going to overload this corner here, and we've actually got about 40 feet of fall across here of what we're trying to
I've driven by
accommodate.
this site, there's a lot of fall, I do
Yeah.
agree. Okay. And then, as far as while you're up there, I think another question was the linear foot movement of the road that you adjusted or the drive lane from those properties. Can you tell us what the original distance to the property line was and what the new distance is? Do you have that?
Not off the top of my head, no. This is Matt Creedy, my civil engineer. He might be able to give you a better idea.
Matthew Creedy with Engineering Surveys and Services, offices at 1113 Faith Street in Columbia. Yeah, to the drive lane, I mean, there was roughly about 30 foot off the property line, and it's been shifted. It's 50, 60, 70 feet now as it's rotated over, so quite a bit of additional gap is set. At the corner of the memory care building, kind of northeast corner, it does stay at about the same location. Also stress the building location. it would be closer to the neighbors to the north if we were to go that direction. It'd also be 40 foot above their lots as well. The position it's got now, it's much less, because it's tiered into the grade, much less of a grade change to the neighboring homes, looking more in the 20 feet range. So not only would it be a different group, but they would be more impacted as well. I think that overall, this is the best impact for the neighbors in this location. It's not just marketability. I mean, there are functional reasons why, accessibility, tiering along that grade, several other things that come into play.
So you're saying that by keeping the building there, it's the skyline is actually lower than it would be if we shifted it closer to the road?
Yes, significantly lower.
Okay. And then can you just go back to the landscape plan? Because I believe we had a question regarding with the road shifting, was more landscape added to that back area? And I believe I saw more landscaping, but there we go.
Yes. Yeah. I'll let you address that.
Yeah, I believe the resident's question was on this end of the building here, if we added additional on the 3-story, and we've not at that point because we're just so tight to the road right there.
But you added some at the trash enclosure, is that correct?
Correct, yeah, this all around the trash enclosure. I don't know if I can.
And you have two, it looks like you have 2 rows on the other side of the parking. You have at the
Correct.
property line and then at the parking. Is
Right,
that-
this is the buffer area, and then we've also got the trees, again, next to the parking in that area as well.
And I know one of our commissioners not here. Are the trees, are they a good mix between conifers and deciduous?
Yes, they are. Yes,
Okay.
they are.
I had to throw that in there. It's my last night. I get to be snarky all I want. So, okay, thank you. That's all I had, Chair.
All right, Madam Chairman.
Commissioner Tuzinski.
Mr. McCready, would you come? A picture's worth 1,000 words, and within your plan sets, you do have a cross-section of the site.
Yes.
Could you please bring that up? I don't know if you have access to it, or if Hector does.
Oh, yeah,
There it
there we
is.
go.
So this is another view of what we were just talking about in words. So if you want to explain this may help the gentleman understand the differences in those elevations.
Yes. So 2 cross sections. So it's this line right here. So the top elevation you're seeing, cross section you're seeing is along this line. So here is the home on this lot right here. And so you can see from a skyline perspective that the tiering and using the topography along this property, the roof lines stay relatively even the entire grade across, and the topography is used to lower that grade down. So you can see that, here's the 3-story section, how it's really set into the grade and into the hillside. The second cross section was brought through from the cul-de-sac through the 3-story building all the way out to Lakewood Way. So you can see it does, this building does sit lower. The cul-de-sac sits a little lower than our lot, but there's that, it's a full 3-story building there, but, relatively even grade. And also note that dashed line, that's existing grade on the property. That's existing grade on the property. So again, you're working with the topography that's there. There's not significant grade changes that are occurring along the way to make that happen. We're trying to work with that grade.
Sure. Perfect. Thank you. Hector, there was some questions about setbacks and within residential properties, within commercial properties. I don't know if you have a slide or a better plan view that you could bring up that shows a setback. But within residential setbacks, there's a setback from the city street to the front of the house, or at least, I know there's at least a setback for utilities along the front of the house, same on both sides and in the rear. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think the front setback is that you can do it, but on the side yard setbacks, if a property owner wants to build in there with landscaping, fences, whatever, that's at their cost if a utility has to come in. And I think that's why a lot of people don't want to build in those easements, is because ultimately they could have a cost that's going to incur to them if something has to come and be done by either utility company or the city, right?
Correct.
So on commercial properties, they have setbacks as well, but what is the setback that they can actually put infrastructure into? Like, what is that part?
So in this specific case, we have R1, which is more standard residential subdivision zoning for Ridgewood Hills. That property is zoned R1. The minimum rear yard setback is 30 feet. So and this property here that we're dealing with, the subject site is zoned CP2. all of our CP2 and industrial sites have similar setback requirements to each other, which are lessened for residential. So these properties have to maintain a minimum 20-foot separation from the rear property line. In all of the cases, when you take measurements from each of the buildings, and I did it on this really quickly while I was sitting there on the landscape plan, I took some measurements. So with the revised layout, at its closest point, the three-story building is going to be 140 feet away from the rear property line or the shared property line with Ridgewood Hills. Then as you make your way toward the northwest, this is the memory care facility. At its closest point, it's going to be about 61 and a half feet from that property line. Again, both of those well in excess of the minimum 20-foot setback. When you get to the villas, the closest point is going to be kind of in that 30-foot range. Again, greater than the 20-foot setback required. In fact, they're more than, this one would be comparable to what the R1 subdivision setback would be. So they exceed all of those. The closest parking areas, the one just off of the villas is going to be at around 37 feet, we'll say, give or take. This one drive here at its closest point is going to be 22 feet. The minimum setback for parking lots or parking areas or associated drives from residential is 20 feet. We already talked about how this one got shifted some to gain closer to be 60 feet. So they are compliant. Buildings, parking setback, all of it's compliant with the UDO requirements.
Thank you, Hector.
Okay, I have a question. Is Mr. DeBerg here tonight? Okay, this is just a letter he wrote to us, and I wanted to read a bit from it, and then I have some questions. This letter was addressed to the City of Lee Summit Department of Planning and Development, and it was in our packet. We currently own and operate the Princeton, a senior living community in Lee Summit that was granted a 40-year SUP and is located approximately 9 miles from the proposed site, which has been successfully operating for 4 years. This nearby community demonstrates our commitment to the local market and our ability to maintain high operational and management standards over time. And I read this because something came to my attention. In full transparency, my mother's a resident at the Princeton, and I have several clients at the Princeton. I'm a CPA, and so I've gotten to know several people there. And I'm not sure that you guys are aware of this, you're probably not, but there has been units without hot water, and it has gone on for a long period of time. I did contact the city at one point about it, and I didn't follow up as to what the code's enforcement did about it, but I think it's still ongoing, and I encouraged my mom to encourage people to show up at the hearing to speak about it, but as people get older, they get nervous about, they get very nervous about speaking out because they feel pretty vulnerable. But I wanted to make you guys aware and let you address how this can get resolved, how we can get to the bottom of it and find out what's going on, if it's been fixed, and if it will be fixed quickly. Because I'm sure if you haven't heard it, you're not real happy about it.
So we obviously take that very seriously. Personally, I was not aware of it, but Tim, you're the regional operations person, so he can comment on it.
Okay.
Hi, Tim Moore, 17399 South 1900 Road, Nevada, Missouri, 64772. I am the Regional Director of Operations for Arrow Senior Living. I cover the entire Kansas City market. We did have hot water issues when the building was initially built. Those were fixed for a period of time, and just recently, within the last, actually 2 weeks ago, it came to my attention that we were starting to have hot water issues again. As we dug into it a little bit deeper and got started asking questions. As you mentioned, oftentimes the senior population doesn't want to raise a red flag. They don't bring it up. They may talk in their groups, but they don't necessarily bring it up to us. So once we found that, we did engage with our plumber. He came in to find that we use on-demand, very large on-demand hot water tanks, and they had sediment that had built up in those. We do also use water softeners to try and limit that, but there was sediment that had built up in those. So we did have, I believe it was last Monday night, I think, they came in late in the evening, turned the water off, cleared all the lines, reset the mixing valve. So there were some mixing valve issues within those hot water tanks that I mentioned. Got those fixed, and essentially we've now circled back to each one of the residents that had brought those issues to us as early as as recently as this afternoon. I reached out to the community. They've connected with each one of those residents that had brought issues, as well as kind of polled some of the others, and they all have mentioned that the hot water pressure as well as temperatures has been satisfactory since Tuesday afternoon. So,
Okay, thank you for that.
absolutely.
Is there a way, I'm very concerned, the business of geriatrics, I'll just say, is a big business. We've got a lot of aging population, and I personally, it's an area that concerns me deeply. I feel, and this is in the IL area, that was my understanding, it was all IL, so they're considered residents that don't they live independently. Is there a way that can be improved as far as who they call, off hours, and like a hotline type of thing? Would you guys consider upping those services to a level where somebody can always be accessed, or so that if they're, and maybe a way that the residents can call without feeling like there's going to be retribution, which I don't feel there is, but I know people when they feel vulnerable. Is there something you would consider in your operational plan to make it easier for those communications to happen in case the director at the community doesn't take care of it in a timely manner? Just a way to improve the quality of life, because like you said, this is a community where we age in place and a community for all ages. And I know we have a definite need for this, but I definitely want to see quality, high quality on this. And I think based on what you guys have presented tonight, being good neighbors, I'm sure that that's in your mind too, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll speak to that. I mean, one of our core values with Arrow is transparency builds trust. And so we always want to make sure that our residents feel comfortable coming to the community level first. I mean, we try and work through the hierarchy there. So we want them to go to the community level staff, whether that's a server, a cook, a director, the executive director in the community. But we also provide, so at each community, my number, as far as the Kansas City market, is provided. I typically have business cards there at the front. They can reach out to me. I office, we have a regional office in Nevada, Missouri, so I office out of there. But they're also welcome to call our home office, and they often do. In fact, this particular issue, that's how it became aware to me. I had a family member of a resident that was independent living, was actually visiting her mother. She was in town from Arizona.
I know who you're talking about.
Okay, yeah. I'd spoken to her before about some other issues about a year ago. And so she reached out to me. We did have a transition of executive director. So we were in the process of communicating out the new executive director and some things like that. So there were some areas of communication could have been a little bit better. But yeah, again, we have an open door policy for our executive directors, regional staff, home office. We want the residents to bring those to us. Oftentimes, residents they know that in this particular instance, O'Reilly Development is part of the building, and they'll call O'Reilly Development directly in the Springfield market. So, I mean, there are multiple modalities for them to be able to get a hold of us. And then we also have an internal app that we've created called the Arrow app that the residents have access to for those that are technology savvy that can reach out to that, or family members for that matter.
Okay. Would you consider doing any rent abatement for the tenants that didn't have hot water?
We have and we do. I mean, anytime we have issues like that, I mean, we give our executive directors the ability to do customer service credits if needed. And so I know they've worked through some of those, whether it was the hot water issue or other issues that we've had in all of our communities.
Okay, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Any other questions from the commission? Okay. Did the applicant care to respond to anything else that was asked or said in the hearing?
No, again, this is the first time hearing this. Arrow manages all of our properties and they are Class A operation. So I think he described the process and how it's being fixed, and I appreciate you bringing that up, but I have no further comments.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, hearing no further testimony, I will close the public hearing and reopen the regular meeting. Is there any commission discussion on this application? Commissioner Benbrook.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I appreciate the fact that a lot of the concerns were addressed to the best of the ability of the owner. I'm glad that they were able to get the generator absolutely as far as they possibly can, because I think the noise of that was probably the largest concern. Getting the trash moved and even the drive lane shows that they're trying to be good neighbors. I think the layout is about as best as it can be on this lot. This is a difficult lot to build on. And to be honest, if there was a grocery store on there, you'd be really unhappy because there'd be semi-trucks going along your property line at 4 a.m. They're dropping off milk and eggs, and you'd have trash compactors running all night long with night crew filling. Trust me, I ran grocery stores. I know exactly how they do it. So I'm happy and pleased to see the changes, and I think this is a great project. I think it's going to be a definite positive addition to Lee Summit. Thank you.
Commissioner Jana Ford.
I'll just echo, I deeply value the respect given on both sides and being open to communication. I think that's been very valuable and something that we want to keep valuing with other and future developments. Thank you.
Commissioner Grono.
I do want to thank the residents for coming, sharing your voice. We hear you, we appreciate it, we respect it, have a lot of empathy towards it. And then huge kudos to the applicant for the time, the energy that it took to do this, to put it together, to come back. I do think that the changes that were made were very positive. So it is refreshing and encouraging to see that when we talk about things at our commission, that we are adding value and contributing and collaborating. So thanks.
Commissioner Hatcher.
Thank you. Just to piggyback on that, thank you to the neighbors for making yourselves known. I did read every single protest petition. I was not a member of the commission at the time of the first meeting, but I did watch all 4 hours and 40 minutes of that meeting in preparation for this. So including the dome discussion, I also got to wait through that. So appreciate you making it known, and I genuinely feel like this use is probably about the best that you could get or ask for something going in there, which will happen at some point. To Commissioner Benbrook's points there, as far as a grocery store that was specifically mentioned, everything's going to have its own pros and cons, but I think on the whole, this would be a really good project for the city as a whole. And on a micro perspective, one of the least impactful that could be built there. And I would also just add the convalescent nursing or retirement home category in the UDO requires a special use permit in every single zoning category that we have. So the fact that we're asking for one here, or the applicant is, I don't think necessarily indicates a lack of compatibility per the zoning code, as it would require a special use permit anywhere that it went. And I do think it fits the step down intent as far as the CP2. And thank you to the applicant for also listening and the changes at cost, as well as I think going above and beyond on some of those changes and listening to the neighbors as well. So hopefully that also speaks to, you know, their long-term aspect as well, and issues the chair brought up as well, and wanting to rectify things and do what's right generally.
Thank you. Commissioner Yerington?
Yes, I have nothing to add. I just want to say I concur with all the commissioners up here and on here, and I really value that any developer or applicant listens wholeheartedly to the residents, and we move forward as a community together. Without you listening, really doesn't make a good partnership to us up here, because we're all residents of Lee Summit, and we just value that compassion that you listen to them. So that's all I have.
Thank you. I would say I'd echo everything that everyone said. I appreciate the residents coming out because, like Commissioner Yerington said, we are residents as well. And we did not answer Connie Eads' question she had some question about how she would go about petitioning businesses or Jackson County. I'd like to take a recess after that. Can you talk to her, Hector, about that a little bit?
Sure.
Okay. And thank you for your comments, and thank you for working really hard and listening. We appreciate that. And with that said, I would entertain a motion.
Here, I can do it. I got it. Chair, I said I would do it, and now I can't find it. Here we go. I move to recommend approval of application PL 2025-338 and PL 2025-339 preliminary development plan and special use permit for a convalescent nursing and retirement home, Lee Summit Senior Community, 5101 Northeast Lakewood Way, Lee Summit Senior Living Community, LLC applicant.
Second.
Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Edward Yerington,
Yes.
Peyton Hatcher,
Yes.
Dana Arth,
Yes.
Jessica Greneau,
Yes.
Tanya Janaford,
Yes.
Chip Tazinski,
Yes.
Randy Benbrook.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes. Thank you very much. And I'm going to call a 10-minute recess.
Ever wondered how the city budget works? The total 2026 budget is over $380 million, which includes funding for daily operations, capital improvements, debt service, internal service, and enterprise operations. For example, the general fund is the foundation for the city's day-to-day services and investments like road maintenance, public safety, and fire protection. The general fund is supported by property taxes, sales taxes generated by local businesses, franchise taxes, and other sources like licenses, permits, and fees. For every dollar citizens pay in property tax, the city receives 18 cents. This means the city receives $845 a year in property taxes for a median single-family house. These taxes provide public safety, park maintenance, infrastructure, and the best services to keep Lee Summit going and improving. One of the community's top priorities is infrastructure investment, which is reflected in the Capital Improvement Plan. $113 million of the 2026 budget is invested into the Capital Improvement Plan. The 2026 Capital Improvement budget includes investments like the 291 and 50 Highway Interchange, 3rd Street, Ward and Purcell's intersection, and Pryor Road. The budget process includes guidance from the City Council, citizen input, and critical success factors from the city's Ignite strategic plan. To learn more about the city's budget, visit cityofls.net/budget.
When the person called on the phone, she said that there was a dinosaur walking down her road. Of course, we had to go out and check that out. We get out there, and it was a big African tortoise, probably 60 pounds, walking down the road. When they walk, they really stand up tall, so I could see why she thought it was a dinosaur. I'm Rodney Wagner. I'm the manager of Lee Summit Animal Control. So as you can see, we get all sorts of animals here. You have some guinea pigs off to the side. All the windows up here are animals that are adoptable right now. Every one of these dogs is ready to go and ready for adoption. And the same thing with our cats over here. A lot of cool cats in here now, so this is our 3-acre lot we have out back. This is where we do all the walking of dogs, the exercise. We also have a side yard off to the side over there, so we can let them run loose. They can run together, and we have what's called play groups. kind of like having a bunch of kids. Here's our vet room. We have a vet that comes out twice a week. This is our Sally Port where we bring the animals into. This is one of our animal control trucks, and we can hold up to 6 animals. We have a lift on the other side to put big animals in. We actually have temperature gauges in here and in the truck to tell us how hot it is. Once it gets to a certain temperature, we bring all the animals back here immediately. So this actually has traps in it, but we do a lot of wildlife trapping. I mean, a lot. So bats, potbelly pigs, horses, cows, emus, a lot of reptiles. We had a citizen one time that had over 200 reptiles in his basement. Caimans and alligators in here that are 4 or 5 feet long. You can't keep those. And people do, and they're surprised when they can't keep them. I'm like, really? You're surprised you can't have an alligator in your house? Our main goal here is public safety and also the safety of the animals. And we have very dedicated people back there, and they definitely stay here for the love of the animals, which also includes getting them adopted out. We'll have about 4,000 impounded animals a year. Probably about close to 2,000 are dogs and cats. The cats and dogs, when they get impounded here, they go on a 5-day hold. And then after the 5 days, if the owner doesn't show up, then we can put them up for adoption. To adopt an animal here is actually really simple. You just come in, look for whatever animal you're looking for, find the right pick. You go to the adoption room up there and see if you get along with them. You spend as much time as you want to in there. From that point on, it's just a matter of making sure they're spay or neutered and all their vaccinations up to par and they're good to go. We have a very high adoption rate because we try everything in our power to get animals adopted out. We have Heart of America, a Humane Society that we do a lot of adoptions through. And then we also have other groups. We have some people that literally will just look all over the country for somewhere for a dog to go. And we sent dogs up into South Dakota, North Dakota, Washington State. So it's actually, it's a huge united effort to get all these animals home.
Tarzan's got lots of energy. Hazel's got a weird meow. Belle, she wants nothing to do with the other cats. She'll kind of get her grumpy face going.
And the good thing about the people here is that they get all their friends to get animals too. All of us have probably the limit of all the animals that we can have at home. You know, they are huge animal lovers. If it was up to the people here, we'd have 15 cats running around in here. We had a citizen one time out there and he was bathing his 2 9-foot-long boa constrictors in the front yard. Apparently that was garnering some attention, and so we went out there and had to have a talk with him about that. Why do I do this job? Oh, dude, I love this job. I grew up on a farm, and taking care of that many animals, you can't help but like animals. This is just like fancy farming. You know, you're just bringing animals in here, taking care of them, and find them homes, and yeah, absolutely animal lover.
This is the best place to work.
I love working here.
I feel very blessed.
I love it here. I look forward to coming to work every day, being a part of this team.
Like a family away from home.
Where everyone feels like everybody knows their name.
A city that supports you. We see that with our benefits.
A pension, vacation days, job security.
Being able to be heard.
We feel valued. We feel respected.
Lee Summit is a very progressive city.
It's growing, it's thriving.
We have this drive towards not just doing a job, but doing it with a spirit of excellence.
I had the opportunity to continue to grow, regardless of 30 plus years doing this kind of work.
It's more than just dollars and cents.
We're here really to give back.
Providing a service to better a community.
To go out and serve people.
To be a part of something bigger than yourself. If I would have known what I know now, years ago, I would have been here much sooner.
Traditionally, we think as police officers, those responding to law enforcement needs within the community. But honestly, we are there to serve our citizens, and our citizens do go into crisis. They do have mental health crises, and we're being called to those scenes on a regular basis. In order to help serve those citizens better, we did initiate the Crisis Intervention Team Program. These are officers that are specially trained to de-escalate crisis situations. Recently, we've brought co-responders onto the scene, licensed qualified mental health professionals housed within our police department, and they respond with those officers directly to those scenes where a crisis is occurring so they can interact with that citizen and get them the help they need right there on that scene.
The co-responders are either a bachelor or master level in a behavioral health related field. They wear plain clothes, they don't carry weapons or anything like that.
I have a police radio that I listen to all day. Listen for, those key words: mental health, behavioral health, crisis.
There's a lot of officers that just call for me. I have my own radio number.
I also have the ability to self-dispatch to them and say 982 is en route.
Officers en route, 914 Armstrong.
So typically I arrive after they've made it safe. I'll make contact and get kind of the rundown, and then I just kind of jump right in.
Like, hey, my name's Allison. I'm a mental health professional. I'm here to help you. I'm not here to take you to jail or arrest you.
Sometimes all a person needs is a voice, someone neutral, someone outside that, can listen. I do a lot of safety planning, including family, their support network. Who's close to you? If they're home alone, who can come over and hang out with you today? Can we lock away your sharps? Can we put up your meds? Do you need meds? Can we get you over to the urgent care to get you assessed for your medications? Some of them also are like, oh, I'm so glad you came. This made me feel so much better.
Our main goal as co-responders is to, one, get people connected to the services that they need, and also divert from emergency rooms and jails.
And they almost get a different view of the police responding. That lets me know you care and the officers care.
Please, how can we help you?
My husband
In 2020, we had 722 mental health related calls for service. 2022, by that time, 1,479. These mental health related calls for service are increasing. How we're responding to that is increasing the number of crisis intervention team officers we have available, as well as the number of co-responders we have available to respond on these calls.
So what I think is important for the community to know about the co-responder program is that we're here, we exist. All you have to do when you call 911 is ask for us. Say, hey, I want a co-responder to respond to this crisis, and we'll go. I was really struggling about 8 years ago on my personal journey with mental health, and I met some amazing social workers and amazing programs that have helped.
All right, we will move on. I will now close the regular meeting and open the public hearing in the matter of application PL 2025-164, special use permit renewal for Chapel Oaks Maintenance Storage Facility, 657 Northeast Newport Drive, Chapel Oaks Development Company applicant. Does the applicant have a presentation? Okay. All right. Can you all stand up and be sworn in at this time?
Good evening, Steve Barber, 10401 Howard Road, Lee Summit. I don't have a presentation. Before I defer to staff, I would like to request a 15-year renewal instead of 10, if that's possible.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Pierce.
Good evening, Pierce Pulliam, planner. Please enter the record Exhibit A, list of exhibits 1 through 16.
Exhibit A, 1 through 16, noted and entered into the record.
The applicant is requesting a special use permit renewal for a maintenance storage facility at 657 Northeast Newport Drive. The facility was originally approved and built in 1995, and this will be its third SUP renewal since, and there are no proposed changes to the site at this time. The property is zoned RP3 and is surrounded by residential zoning and uses and has townhomes to the east, south, and west, and to the north lays Chapel Lakes Elementary School. The future land use map designates the property as residential 2, which calls for multifamily medium density residential housing, which the maintenance storage facility serves. The facility is used to store mowing, snow removal vehicles, and general maintenance equipment for residential units in the Chapel Oaks subdivision. As part of the SUP renewal process, staff did conduct inspection of the property and noticed some concerns with the site, such as outside storage of wooden pallets, vehicles, and landscaping materials. The applicant did work closely with staff to get these items removed, and all of the issues have since been resolved. And they did hold a neighborhood meeting on February 9th, and no members of the public attended. And so with that, the conditions are listed here. However, if you did want to request or recommend a 15-year renewal, we would have to change the second one. And I can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Mr. Yerington, do you have any questions for the staff or applicant?
No.
Commissioner, I'm trying to get used to, we have a new one. Commissioner Hatcher.
I do not, thank you.
Commissioner Grono. Does anyone down there have questions? Commissioner Chizinski.
I don't want this to be my thing. As you know, Terry's thing is
It's
signing
your
and trees,
thing.
but I do want to help the community when asked. But there's going to be some standards when we ask. So with regards to the city staff, you know, there were some issues. They were remedied. Can you give us an idea of what those issues were? Is there, I mean, obviously the second after we give the permit, those issues can come back up. But so first I'm going to ask you, what were those issues? Can you explain them a little bit? And then if the applicant would like to respond, and for lack of better words, he swore in and promised it's not going to happen again, I would be more than happy to consider a longer term. But let's just hear the issues, and then let's ask them after the fact.
Yeah, part of the renewal process, we did conduct a few inspections. I personally went out there, and there were some snow removal vehicles. They're kind of like construction vehicles with the like the scoops on them. There was some gravel, or some rocks, and some like landscaping, dirt, mulch, and some wooden pallets. We communicated that with the applicant and let them know it had to be removed. We kind of just went through the process of making sure everything was clean. I went up there, I think, 2 more times, and eventually we got it all cleaned up. It wasn't anything egregious, I'd say. It was really stuff for the property surrounding it. But yeah, it was just pretty much, I'd say normal residential things like that.
And what specific rules, again, I don't want to go down a super rabbit hole here, but what specific rules that were broken? Like, what is the ordinance that wasn't being followed, if you have that?
So a part of the conditions for a maintenance storage facility is that if that does have storage, it either has landscaping or be internal. So there can't be any type of outside storage. It all needs to be inside. That's pretty much basically the main condition that was broken.
Okay. So, Madam Chairman, I'd like to ask the property owner and the applicant to come up. So, how long have you owned this business?
My father owns it. He built the place.
Okay.
So the shed was built in '95, I believe.
Okay. And so
about this tall back then.
Well, I appreciate you sticking with your dad and working for the business. So you're asking for 15 years, and like I said, I always like to give property owners the opportunity to go for more. A lot of times I'm very supportive when they come back and say, hey, no, it's been pristine, we didn't have any issues. They keep the building nice, they keep their grounds nice. There were some issues, right? You came out and you fixed them. So,
sure.
Asking moving forward, can you follow the ordinances? Can you make sure it doesn't happen again? Like I said, you're under oath and stuff. I'd like to really, get your commitment to that before, because I don't mind going to bat and bring it up in front of the commission and let them vote on it. But I really want to hear it from you that you're going to maintain it, that you're going to follow the ordinances and keep the property looking nice.
Sure. Well, I'll do my best. I wasn't really aware that there was any ordinance broke. So now that I know that, I'll keep it that way.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it. That's all I had, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Grono?
I have a quick question. So what is the standard inspection period or time frame that would go along with a special use permit like this?
So once the renewal process was initiated, usually the first step would be to go out there and check for making sure any conditions are being met, and if there's any like kind of damage to the site that wouldn't let it be kind of up to compliance, we check for that. And then we enter that into our comments and let the applicant know. And then they have time to remedy the issues and then resubmit and then get back into the process of getting this onto the Planning Commission.
All right, let me clarify. So once a special use permit is issued, when's the next time you go out for an inspection?
I don't go do the inspections. I go for the renewal.
Special use?
But it would be if someone alerted the neighborhood services about it.
So the call would have to be made, and then that's what would trigger it. So, because I just pulled up real quick, and don't get me wrong, things happen, things get stored outside, but when I just pulled it up real quick, just to take a good visual look of a picture that was through Apple Maps, you can see that there's a skid steer out there, there's gravel stored out there, there's pallets out there. So, things happen, you are gonna put some stuff there and you have intentions of putting things away, delays occur, totally understand, but I don't know if there is a way that we can explore or look at an additional period for the special use permit, but instill more inspections or something along those lines to align with our expectations. So, just a question.
I mean, I'm not sure if we can add a condition for more inspections or anything like that. I don't believe we have any, that would be anything I've heard of at least.
No, and Madam Chairman and Commissioner Greneau, I think really, in my opinion, what this comes down to is no one's going to call unless they have an issue, right? And so that's, and this is, I think this is this for rent area? Is it like a townhouse that you rent? So, and so really, that's really why I specifically asked the property owner to say, hey, I'm going to commit to doing this. Understand, you bring a gravel home, you're going to use it in a couple of days. I totally get that. And who knows, those Apple Maps pictures could be months old and it could have been cleaned up since then. So, that's really, like I said, unless you plan on going out there and inspecting it, it's probably not going to get called. So, but no, that's just my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, sure.
Did you have a question, Commissioner Benbrook?
Yes, real quick. I don't want this to be my thing. Can we go to an elevation real quick of the building?
You're leaving.
Trying to leave it in good hands.
I have this one. I can pull up a better one if you'd like as well.
Yeah, do you have a better one?
Yeah, I can go to.
And just so you know, I was thinking about this before you made a comment. But we'll get there. So what triggered this was the age of the building, and then the muted out picture of the elevation triggered something in my mind as we were discussing this. But I want to make sure I have a clear view of the building if I can. All right, so for the applicant, do you know what kind of siding is on this structure?
What do you call it? T1, not T111 siding?
Old
batten board.
Okay. So in the years that this building was built, it was pretty typical for them to use masonite siding
Right, there,
for the
there you
batten
go,
board?
masonite.
Is that what this is?
Yes.
Okay. So built in 95, you're lucky that it still looks as good as it does. There's huge lawsuits considering masonite siding. Anytime you don't keep a ton of paint and a ton of caulk on it, it kind of falls apart.
Know all about it. That's what I've been doing.
Okay. So
all the buildings are in that shape.
Okay, yeah. Is the whole neighborhood built with that masonite?
Pretty much it's been gone through with smart panel now.
Okay, so little by little you're replacing it?
For sure, yeah.
Okay, so I would support a 15-year extension if we could get a modification that the siding of the building be maintained or replaced as needed with updated siding. Simply because I'm dealing with this with my own house, so I feel the pain, trust me. And I know this stuff is at the end of life, and as you said, you're already dealing with it, and it's only going to get worse. Sure. You can already see the degradation at the bottom where it transitions. It's already chipping up and falling out. So I would be in support of 15 years if we made, as part of the modification, that the ownership guarantees or the applicant guarantees maintenance of the siding of this facility. That's all I had. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So with that said, how would that be? That really can't be enforced, though. I guess.
Only if a complaint is made, right? That's what we heard.
Okay. Okay.
I have a question.
Commissioner Hatcher.
I think some of the concerns are more general precedent rather than the specific as far as when something's brought up like this and some sort of issue was noted. I was just going to suggest perhaps going the opposite direction and reducing this to maybe 1 year to see if it was maintained or perhaps did not have those issues, and then look at the maximum after that, assuming the applicant does keep it as we have discussed.
Madam Chairman, I could be supportive of that if the city decided if we could waive the cost for him to come back in a year, because it is a significant expense. I think we said last meeting was $1,400, I think, to come back and to come in front of this board and get that extension. I could be supportive of that, but like I said, I would not ask the owner to repay if that is something that we decided to do.
Thank you. I did not consider that.
Mr. Barber, are you agreeable to that?
To which part?
To 1 year with a fee waived, if it's even possible. Is that even possible, Hector?
No, we don't have the ability to waive fees, no.
We're just making deals for you all over the place. Okay, so that's off the table.
We
Okay.
support what's written.
Okay, never mind.
Okay, as far as the 1 year. Probably also some of our questions are really comments, so do we have any more questions? Commissioner Jana Ford?
I have a question in pertaining to like what options we may have. So can't waive it, understood. Is there a grace period we could provide, like 60, 90 days or something like that to meet said requirements and conditions? Once those are met, then the 10 or 15 year can be granted?
Well, I guess before I get to that point, I guess just to understand better the concern, is there, it's just the concern in general regarding masonite as a product from like a big picture's perspective, or, I mean, I'm, looking at a photo is different from me looking on site. So I've not been to the site to say whether or not, or know whether or not the material's like in good shape or not generally. So, I mean, if it's, I guess that's my concern right now is, I don't see, just from this photo, and again, what I could see in the photo and what one could see in person are two different things. So at least this facade, you mentioned that some potential areas where the transitions, but like overall, it looks like it's in pretty good shape. I don't know.
Commissioner, that's an old picture too.
Yeah.
It's been painted. It's got a new roof on it. There's been repairs done. Now, the siding hasn't been replaced, but it's been repainted and such. I don't believe it's in that bad a shape yet.
I mean, the
If
city
it were
also.
to be in bad shape, I don't want the eyesore either.
I can speak to that too. When I inspected, last time I was out there was probably last month. There was no issues with the driveway, with the building or anything. It was just the storage outside. There was no issues with the look, or it fits another condition for storage maintenance storage facilities, that it has to have the same characters surrounding buildings, and it still has that look to it. And there was no issues with the building at all. It was just the outside storage. So.
Any other questions? Commissioner Benbrook?
I don't have any more questions. I was just going to ask if anybody else did, because maybe we need to continue this in discussion.
Yeah, okay. Did you have anything you wanted to address to us?
No, ma'am, I think I'm finished. Thank you, guys.
Okay, all right. Hearing no further testimony, I will close the public hearing and reopen the regular meeting. Is there any commission discussion on this application? I'll start with Commissioner Benbrook.
I'm sorry, I'm the problem child today. Maybe 15 years is a stretch, maybe even 10 years is a stretch. I think 5 years might be reasonable, now that the applicant is aware that there are maintenance, that he's basically in a maintenance agreement with the city because of the zoning. Obviously, they maintain an entire site. They're trying to rent it. They're trying to maintain it. I think they're trying to do that in good faith. And maybe a 5-year at this point might be the best course forward. 15 might be a little long, but I don't know how everybody else feels about that discussion.
Commissioner Chizinski.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, thank you. From the pictures from the property owner coming up here and talking, he's maintaining his property, he's maintaining the buildings around it in a similar fashion. He knows there's an issue. Sounds like he's replacing the buildings as he goes along. I'm sure the maintenance facility becomes the last, unless he's living in it. That's probably one of the last thing that gets done. Understandably so. I'd rather have the apartments that are for rent and actually generating income be paid. So to me, it sounds like he's maintaining his property. He satisfied my desire to know he's going to take care of the property. Now he's aware that there's issues that needed to be done. Cool. I would be of interest in extending it to the 15. But like Commissioner Benbrook, I'd like to really feel what the rest of the commission has to think about it, and then we'll determine if we're going to make that extension or not. I think 15 is acceptable. I'm sorry, I think 10 is acceptable. I think 15 would be allowable too, but those are my 2 cents. Thanks.
Commissioner Janiford, did you have a comment?
No comment, that's already been repeated. Thank you.
Commissioner Grono.
I think that maybe I picked up a picture and Apple did the applicant dirty because they picked the right time to showcase what we were talking about. I might ask us to take a look at when we have reviewed other special use permits and that there have been non-compliance issues with those applications or those renewals of special use permits, and how the applicant rectified the situation, adjusted it, and we all moved on. So I think it's a very similar situation. We just got kind of hung up, and we have some pictures that maybe supported what we were talking about a little bit that we kind of grabbed a hold of. I personally am in favor of just staying with what's been proposed of 10 years, especially if there's some concerns over the building materials, it deteriorating. I think that's a nice happy medium, and that we would maybe treat it like we would other situations that we've ran into in the past.
Commissioner Hatcher.
I like that approach. I was just making a suggestion. Did not understand that cost burden, so thank you for clarifying that. That was definitely not my intent there. So I would agree with supporting the 10, given that's how it's been handled before.
Commissioner Yerington.
Yeah, I look at this very simplistically. We're here to recommend approval for or approve the special use permit for continued operations of a maintenance building. They had discrepancies, they fixed it, you noted it in your inspection. I think 10 years is, and he upkeeps the property, as he witnessed himself. He said the roof needs to be replaced. He touches up on paint. I mean, I think he's very responsible. And when he knows there's an issue, he addresses the issue and he took care of it. And I think he's requesting 10 years. I think there's no problem supporting what he's requesting.
Actually, he requested 15. Yeah. Opening, it said 15, yeah.
Okay, I see. I'm good with 10. Sorry.
Hearing no further testimony, or no, we've already done that. So I need, let me see, who hasn't done a motion tonight? Commissioner Tuzinski.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion here. I move to recommend approval of application number PL 2025-164, special use permit renewal for Chapel Oaks Maintenance Storage Facility, 657 Northeast Newport Drive, Chapel Oaks Development Company applicant.
Second.
Can we get a roll call vote? We didn't put the time period on there. Do we have to?
He said 10.
It'll be 10 years from the date of, I forget how it's written, actually in this one, it's 10 years from the date of the previous expiration.
Okay, all right. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Edward Urington,
Yes.
Peyton Hatcher,
Yes.
Dana Arth,
Yes.
Jessica Greneau,
Yes.
Tanya Janaford,
Yes.
Chip Tuzinski,
Yes.
Randy Benbrook.
Yes.
All right, the motion has passed. Thank you. And we can move on to Roundtable. Do you have anything, Hector?
I have three things. So before everyone leaves, actually just want to remind Chairperson Arth, and in this case, Assistant Secretary Benbrook, that the resolution for the CIP, we need to sign that before we leave. So that'll be your final action. Which leads me to the second thing. So just wanted to thank you for your tenure on the Planning Commission. We appreciate the time you volunteered, and it's not something we overlook. We understand the commitment, and it's a significant commitment, and we wish you luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you. I've enjoyed my time here. It's been fun, educational, and I'm sorry you guys had to put up with me so long. You could have gotten rid of me sooner if you just objected more often. I'm sure I said some things that would have got me kicked off if you pushed it.
So the only other thing I had to say was that because after tonight we will be down 2 members, quorum, of course, will be a little bit tighter since we'll have 7 until we get 2 new replacements. So knowing that summer's coming, vacations and whatnot, there's the likelihood of absences due to, time spent with your family might conflict some with some of our meetings. So the earlier you can communicate any planned vacations, and we can kind of look to see what our schedule might be in the summer, just to try to, until we get those positions filled, we would appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, we're hoping to get those positions filled quickly, but that's out of staff's hands on how quickly that happens.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, Hector, go ahead and put on your calendar that I will not be in town on the 28th. So I will not be able to make May 28th meeting.
I think he just planned all your vacation days.
Commissioner Grono, did you have something?
I have 2. One is a question. One is maybe, well, I guess they're both questions. First one is, when we reply to the email about if we are attending or not, do you guys want us to do reply all or just reply to the person that we send it to? Because that's what I do, but then I feel like there's emails that get thrown around of, do we have a quorum? What's going on?
I'm told the preference is for reply all, which
Thank you.
makes sense, because it would help if someone might be on the fence, and then everyone has a gauge as to like where we sit relative to quorum, and that might push someone over toward making the meeting if possible. So, okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Reply all. My second question is concerning when we are looking at different preliminary development plans, especially around housing or like our application for the assisted living facility today, or couple meetings ago, we were with John Knox Village. We always reference, in multifamily is another hot one. We always reference about how we are looking for, we look to the comprehensive plan, and that's our guiding light, and tells us what we should or shouldn't do and how it should work. But we don't always get updates about where we stand in terms of our goals towards that comprehensive plan as it pertains to the Planning Commission. And I know it's challenging. I know that it's not black and white, and there's a lot of moving parts with it, but it would be nice if we had some type of update as to where we're sitting when it comes to multifamily versus the missing middle type houses versus single family, and so that we could reference or just have some awareness of. And it's not something that's every single time, but a few times a year. It would just be really nice to have some type of report, or if that exists and I don't know it, I would love to know where it's at. Learn something new about the CIP dashboard. So if there's other little nuggets out there that we should be aware of, especially, I know I've been here a year, but you still learn so much. I would love that information or knowledge or training or understanding of where that stuff's at, and or being able to have it provided.
So just to be clear, the goal you're referring to is, like, the comprehensive plan set out a goal saying the percentage split of residential ideally would be this, and this, and where we sit relative to that. Yes, we can.
That would be one thing. I mean, I know there's a whole bunch in there.
I'm thinking of all the different points, like community for all ages, just the different points and how it stands.
Yeah,
It'd just be really helpful.
We can do that.
And if it exists somewhere and I don't know it, just let me know and I will go look.
We can get that to you.
Thank you.
Maybe we can add that to the agenda in the back as a legend of some sort, so we can have a reference as updated as of this date. This is what the city has, and we can see it online. That would be helpful as well. Obviously everyone is going through troublesome times trying to find the accurate data for the whole city. I spoke a little bit with Mark Dunning the other day, just in passing, but there's a challenge around for everybody, and so that's really a challenge for you guys to figure that out.
So we pull permit data on a monthly basis. So I guess depending on where that meeting might hit relative to that date as the calendar turns, some of the data might be 7 days old, some of it might be closer to a month old, but yes, we can get that to you more periodically, yes.
That would be really, really helpful.
Okay.
And if it exists somewhere already that we just need to go look, if you could just at least let me know, or Ed too, all of us, it would be really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that transparency, I think, is the challenge, and I think we're going to improve on that moving forward. And so that's one of the great points everybody is asking. So it's good.
And Randy, I'm going to miss you. I love your comments and I love your questions, and I've learned so much by watching. So thank you.
Anything else?
Sorry, one other thing. First of all, apologies for my ignorance, if anything, and thank you all for your time and support, and staff some time and assistance this week getting ready for this. Specific to what we heard tonight, I think it was Commissioner Jana Ford that made a comment on the senior living community in the first meeting about additional site plans or visuals of some kind. I did watch all of that meeting and saw the dome from different areas of the neighborhood. I think something along those lines might have been helpful for understanding the grade and how the sight line was going to look out of the neighborhood. Because I drove it last night trying to kind of visualize that myself, and that one elevation with the slope and everything showing the buildings kind of at the same height. That was helpful. But I think, having seen what it looked like with the dome, that was really eye-opening for that one specifically. I know 3D renderings are expensive, but it might have actually helped with some neighbor concerns as well, if or highlighted if there was going to be a big issue. But it would have been helpful to visualize how that changing slope impacted that sight line with the range of building heights, I think. Even just one view between, it actually is from the Eads property through some of those houses, I think would have been helpful. Obviously, we can't require it, but I guess from the project manager side, hey, this might be helpful when these specific site type of issues are coming up. Thank you.
All right, I'm not going to ask for any more roundtable. I'm just going to adjourn at 7:32.